me turn my talk. Here we go. How he said he living life as a gringo. Where you question where you fit in every time you mingle. They say you do this with not enough that. My rapping is really bad. This life as a gringo.
Yes, hello, and welcome to another episode of Life as a Gringo. I am Dramos, of course, and it's Thursday, so it means time for our Thursday Trends episode. Man, I want to preface today's show. I just want to say something real quick. I saw a post about this, and I thought it was a very wise way to navigate the dumpster fire that is our current world right now. And politics are heavy, and I see this with my father, him just getting so riled up and frustrated every day over whatever the latest Trumpian news is and the fear that comes for the future of this country and everything in between, right? And a post I saw today, I might have mentioned an inkling of this, but this is all happening by design, and we have to keep that in mind. The flurry of executive orders and just flurry of shit happening is by design. They're trying to overwhelm us, because when they overwhelm us, we then get burnt out, and then we sort of just become passive, and it's like we don't have anything left to fight, essentially, right? We lose all our will to fight, if you will. So this is by design, and there's a book they reference called The Shock Doctrine, a very famous book. I actually have it. I have it in my house. I haven't read it. It was meant to be like a gift for my dad a while back, and then I ended up getting him something else, and I was like, you know what? I should read this book. Naomi Klein wrote it. Very famous book, but it sort of talks about what people like Trump do in order to sort of make the people bend at their will, right? What do governments do? What do, those wannabe, leaders, if you will, quote unquote, what do they do to sort of just make people follow behind them or at least stop fighting them? So definitely check out that book if you're sort of interested in just a bit of the psychology of it all. I probably should give that book to my father now. He might need it now more than ever. But anyway, keeping in mind that all of this is by design, right? So not allowing yourself to get overly worked up or overwhelmed by all of this. And one of the other pieces of advice that they gave is like a TikTok clip. She talks about sort of setting boundaries and picking one or two issues that you are truly passionate about. Not that you don't give a shit about, anything or anyone outside of that, but the reality is we can't be 100% informed and passionate and fighting for every single cause that exists in this world. It doesn't mean that if an opportunity presents itself, you shouldn't try to get behind something, but it can't be the thing that you can't care so much about every single thing. It's impossible. We don't have the bandwidth as human beings. So, sort of setting that boundary and saying, hey, you know what? I can't sit here and, try to listen to every single thing that's happening every single day about every single issue facing every single marginalized community. I need to sort of just hunker down and set a boundary where I'm only going to really focus on one or two things that I'm very passionate about, and that's sort of where I'm going to send my energy to in terms of my activism or my education process, And again, I think having general working knowledge of what's going on is great, but not overdoing it. You can't, again, be everywhere at every time or everything for everyone, right? Like we've talked about this 1,000,001 times. So I think it's something I'm trying to kind of keep in mind, and sort of, giving myself the freedom to turn it off, right? To not be as heavily informed or invested in everything that's going on, and there are times where, even this morning, I was find myself getting angry listening to just the morning podcast, the 15-minute one that I listened to get, the latest news. And I kind of had to remind myself, all right, don't fall into that trap of it all. Be informed, but don't allow it to sort of overtake your day. So that's what I'm working on. I just want to share that tidbit, if you will. Hopefully it helps people. With that said, what we're talking about today, we'll do a quick little update on Elon Musk. I really just think I want to, really dig it into our brains just how like scary and, you know, what's happening and what potentially could happen with a billionaire tech guy being so powerful, even though he wasn't even elected to office. It's so I'm just touching on a couple things there. We're seeing Google bow down to Daddy Trump in various ways. We'll talk about that. There have been some ICE impersonators targeting Latinos. So just want to touch on that story. And for our Mi Gente segment, we'll just get real light and fluffy with it. I feel like I used to do that a lot more back in the day, but it's Valentine's Day this weekend. We'll talk about some Valentine's Day picks as far as the movies go. If you're going to be staying inside, you want to do a little Netflix and chill with your boo or with yourself, why not watch a romantic movie that stars a Latino or is, written by, directed, whatever it might be, by a Latino. So we'll touch on some suggestions for that. But first, let's get into nonsense and BS in a segment called For the People in the Back.
Say it louder for the people in the back. Say it louder for the people in the back.
Okay, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because it's infuriating, but Musk was giving a briefing from the fucking Oval Office the other day as Donald Trump sat down at his desk proudly, I guess. Elon Musk was called out for some misinformation he was putting out there and basically said, well, you know what? These mistakes are going to happen, and it's fine. It's a part of the process. Well, it's dangerous is what it is. When you are not fact-checking even yourself, and you're the one in the ear of the president, and you have a gigantic platform, and you are spewing lies to the millions of people who follow you, and the algorithm has been skewed to make it so that you are seen at a higher rate than the average, X user, it is incredibly dangerous, and you probably should be fact-checking every single thing that you say or post publicly just to make sure you're not putting lies out there and in turn sending the people that follow you into a frenzy of reinforcing their hatred for the other side. Unfortunately, Elon Musk doesn't seem to want to bear the responsibility that comes along with his position in life. With that said, his Doge, so-called Department of Government Efficiency, is just going ham on various government agencies. They want to destroy the Department of Education, and it's this thing that happens when you become incredibly rich. You forget how the other half lives, essentially, and they want to destroy the Department of Education, which has programs in place that help underprivileged kids, which help kids as far as, extra attention needed for things like math and just in general. I think we can all agree that education is incredibly important in terms of the future of our children. And America already ranks pretty low in terms of, established countries around the world in education. Why would we then hinder the education system even further when we are not producing the best? And this is a part of the lie of American exceptionalism, the propaganda that America is the best, that the rest of the world is just sort of waiting hands and knees for America to, like Baby Bird, drop them their next meal or a next idea. It's just not the reality in 2025. We're not, superior in just about anything. Healthcare, education, we're not producing the best and brightest. Like, we really are a country in decline, but the propaganda of American exceptionalism and the way that we have masked propaganda as patriotism is not allowing us to face the hard truths that we need to in order to be, an elite country in this world that truly is number one in the way that we like to claim. And unfortunately, the people benefiting from the propaganda but not actually producing real results are those like Elon Musk, who are these billionaires that are just squeezing every penny they possibly can for no reason other than the fact that they are just greedy and can't seem to quench their thirst for more and more. And it's just sad. It really is. And beyond the idea of our government being in decline in the way that it operates, what's scary is also what happens when you begin to start stripping these agencies of the necessary staffing or replacing crucial positions with loyalists. You begin to then erase the checks and balances system that is needed, right? They're trying to get rid of the consumer protection agency, essentially, and they're trying to destroy the Consumer Protection Bureau, which is literally put in place to make sure that the American people are not taken advantage of by big companies. And we've seen the results. They've gone after banks who are, and who are taking money away from the everyday person, and they have shit. I mean, we need more consumer protection, right? There's so much more, but that needs to be done. Imagine if this didn't exist at all. And again, who is it benefiting? And I apologize. I'm like literally on a stream of thought here, like as just a person talking to you about like my greatest fears in all that I'm seeing. But when you don't have a checks and balances system, and these corporations and these billionaires have shown you that they have no moral compass, they will not stop at anything to make another dollar. There are no guardrails to protect you and I, and that actually leads to real world danger, right? The FAA, there's a reason why there are regulations on airlines, because they need to hold these airlines accountable to make sure that they are putting out the best product that is safest for the people of this country to use travel-wise. And we've seen all types of issues with the airline companies. Imagine if they weren't regulated the way that they are. How many more issues would we see? God forbid, plane crashes, or even just minor things that lead to delays and lead to a far worse customer service experience than it already is. Right? There's a reason why we haven't had a major plane crash up until this year in roughly over 20 years. It's because of the regulations. And even with that, we started already seeing sort of, some kinks in the armor, if you will, with Boeing, right? And some of their planes having issues over the last couple years. So that's what these agencies do. They provide these guardrails. And again, why is somebody like Elon Musk so interested in gutting these agencies? They claim that it is, that they're spending too much money and all these different things. And I'm sure that there is some truth to that, right? I'm all for that. Let's get a more because this is what I was trying to explain to my father the other day, and it went off the rails because he claims I'm trying to play both sides, and I'm not. The reason why somebody like Trump has won, or why so many people from the Democratic Party have maybe jumped ship or just stopped voting, whatever it might be, is because on the surface, these ideas make sense. Not all of them, but on the surface, like the basic idea, the idea of like, hey, why don't we do an extreme audit of every government agency and see where we have wasteful spending? Like on the surface, yeah, that's a great idea. And that's a great idea that I would stand behind, as long as it's being executed intelligently and in a way that does not negatively affect the people of this country. But this is sort of the problem with the Trump administration, because again, some of these ideas on the surface do make sense, but their execution is like a bull in a china shop, because they don't actually want to execute these ideas for the betterment of the American people. What they're doing is masking what is a sort of gimme idea, or a sort of I don't know why I can't think of the phrase. It's like literally a common phrase. I hate when this happens to like when I'm on like a great train of thought, and you're like the dumbest like everyday phrase that we use. Common sense. I literally could not remember the word common sense. I have a lot going on, y'all. But common sense, a common sense idea, like yes, let's make sure there's not government overspending, right? Let's save where we can. Let's do like a real audit. And you know what? Let's have some transparency for the American people so they know where their tax money is going, and maybe they'll be a little bit less disgruntled about having to pay taxes, right? But what they do is with this common sense idea, they use it as a means to mask the disgusting sort of real reason behind what they're trying to do, right? Like their real motive is not to actually help the American people and to make their lives better. They mask their motive with a like common sense idea, but the motive behind someone like Elon Musk doing this is he's trying to create less and less regulation so that people like himself and their companies can benefit without having to jump through so many hoops and having to go through so much red tape to bring their ideas to life and essentially make more money, right? Because for them, they would love to not be so heavily regulated so they can cut corners and save money and then essentially make more money, right? So that's what's dangerous about someone like Elon Musk having this position, is because he has a major conflict of interest. Right? Even with destroying the Consumer Protection Agency, some of his companies would fall under scrutinization from that agency. Right? He has a finance company through Tesla that has to answer to the Consumer Protection Agency and make sure that they are operating in a manner that is not taking advantage of the American people, of the consumer. So without that agency, they can do all kinds of shady practices through their finance company, right? And that's just one of them. The also danger of Elon Musk having this position is he has access to all types of back-end information and potentially information on direct competitors. So now he has privileged information that is only supposed to be for the government, but because technically he's a contracted government employee by the president, he now can potentially peek behind the curtain and see the operations of his direct competitors. How is that fair? How is that not a conflict of interest? There's also a digital wallet that he's getting ready to launch. Right? Again, that would fall under the Consumer Protection Agency, making sure that he's operating in good faith of the people. And I think that was where they were saying he can peek into because they're investigating now the Consumer Protection Agency. Potentially, he has information about his direct competitor in the field of digital wallets. That's a conflict of interest, a scary one, an even scarier one. Is the fact that he has SpaceX, right, which already has billions of dollars in government contracts and was having issues with various government regulators before this new administration. Now, because of the pressure from the former head of the FAA who resigned now because of his tangles with Musk, they're going to put in, or have put in, a loyalist who is not going to hold Musk to that same standard. And this is scary shit. We're talking about private space travel right here that is being held to less and less of a standard because the people in charge have to bow down to Daddy Trump and President Musk. And it only benefits President Musk because that means his company can continue to operate without having to meet certain criteria. That's fucking scary. And they're even talking about the idea of their use of artificial intelligence, right? All of this gives an opportunity for Musk to catch up to his competitors. He has XAI, right? He's now even trying to purchase OpenAI, which owns ChatGPT, if I'm not mistaken. And then in this article, I'll put the link in the show notes. They say, quote, his cheerleading for shuttering the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau comes less than 2 weeks after X announced a deal with Visa to provide its users peer-to-peer payment services, which are regulated by the CFPB, which is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. It's not a coincidence. He's trying to create an easy pathway to essentially do whatever he wants without any sort of checks and balances system. And when billionaires are able to do that, and these tech bros are able to do that, these tech giants, and nobody is holding them accountable, they've already shown they have no heart, no moral compass, and the results will be them getting richer and richer at the expense of the everyday people and the livelihood of the everyday people. And for them, it doesn't matter what or who they destroy because they will be okay with their money. If this country burns to the ground, they can easily go buy a mansion in another country and be completely fine, leaving the rest of us to have to struggle and scatter to pick up what's left of these pieces. And that's what really, again, I've talked this a ton. Musk is like the scariest thing to me in this whole conversation. With that said, we'll take a quick break and then we'll be right back. All right, we are back, and I want to quickly touch on Google, who has repeatedly bowed down to Daddy Trump and is now once again doing so, as they have just changed the map in Google Maps to reflect Gulf of America rather than Gulf of Mexico, which it is literally known as. And on the surface, it's kind of like, okay, this is just dumb in general, dumb that we're even having to have this fucking conversation. But again, they're showing their loyalty. Google is showing its loyalty to Daddy Trump. One of the biggest and most powerful tech companies in the entire world has sold itself to a political candidate. That's dangerous for all of us who have now become reliant on using their platform and technology for our everyday lives. I mean, it's the same thing with Meta, and like how many businesses are, myself included, brands, businesses rely on using things like Instagram to showcase what we do and to continue to grow ourselves and our brands. It's scary. It's just, again, this showcase of these tech companies and these billionaires, and we're all sort of treading very dangerous water, seeing how far they're willing to go. Because it's very scary. I mean, the Musk thing, it leads into this. I mean, even little things, right? Google Calendar has removed key cultural events from their site, including Pride Month, Black History Month, Holocaust Remembrance Day, Jewish Heritage, Hispanic Heritage, and Indigenous Peoples Month. Does that not feel like we're being targeted? We're being sent a message? We don't want to acknowledge you? Indigenous Peoples Month? Sorry, you're off the calendar. Hispanic Heritage? Off the calendar. Jewish Heritage? Off the calendar. Holocaust Remembrance Day? Off the calendar. Black History Month? Off the calendar. Pride Month? Off the calendar. It's just a message. And of course, they're going to, spin this and gaslight us into being like, oh, well, it's just we're only honoring federal holidays. That's what we did. That's all it is. But it's obviously much deeper than that. If you're going out of your way to do this, that's a message that you, at the very least, don't value the people of this community, but probably more accurately, don't believe in these people's sort of right to have their heritage, their existence, and you probably look down upon them or view them as a problem, right? Something that needs to be corrected. Much like these DEI, the targeting of DEI programs, and that's what Google is falling in line with. We want everything to be white America, white heterosexual America. That's what we want. We don't want anything different here. We don't want anybody acknowledging anything different, anything other than white heterosexual America, because that is what is viewed as superior in the eyes of these people. Just gross. There's a full article on all that Google's been doing, again, in the show notes. I just wanted to touch on that. Last thing I want to quickly touch on is these fake ICE agents that have been terrorizing Latino communities. Now, obviously, we've been seeing and hearing, and some people have been affected by various immigration raids that have been ramping up around the country. And they say people are impersonating immigration officials and assaulting others. There was an incident that happened in South Carolina where a man has been charged with 3 counts of kidnapping and 1 count each of impersonating law enforcement, petty larceny, assault, and battery. He flipped out when these guys started speaking. He impersonated an ICE officer, had these guys essentially, over to the side in their car, was telling them that he's an ICE agent, then sort of just flipping out when they started speaking Spanish. He's posted his $230,000 bail and is out on jail pending a court date. According to CNN, his family is pleading with the presiding judge to give him mercy. That they claim that he suffers from mental health issues, and they're attempting to get him help. Okay. There was also a man in North Carolina. This is disgusting. A man in North Carolina impersonated an ICE officer and sexually assaulted a woman, threatening to deport her if she refused to take part. It's absolutely disgusting. That was in Raleigh, North Carolina. Why don't we deport him? Right? I love on social media these guys who, when you talk about these immigration raids, they're like, "Oh, you must love rapists then, because that's what these guys are. They're trying to get these rapists out of our country." If you were so passionate about rape victims, where is your outrage on the over 100,000 rape cases that are reported each and every year? Why are you not calling for justice on the perpetrators of all of those acts? Why are you not so invested in those stories? You'd rather just blanket statement that all immigrants coming into this country are rapists and criminals, and then just ignore the crime, including rape, that happens by American citizens on a regular basis each and every year. It's like this fake, it's this fake activism, this theatrical activism that is used as a means to mask their racism. They put on this theatrical activism, like, "Oh, we just want to fight crime. We want to make this place safer. People are getting raped out here." And they use that as a means to not feel so bad about the fact that they're just racist. Maybe they even convince themselves that they're not a racist, right? Like, this is what helps them sleep at night, is they're not racist, they're patriots who are trying to save this country. And obviously, anybody with common sense would know, no, you're just a racist. Just a racist. There was also an incident at Temple University that's in Philadelphia where Aiden Stegelman tried entering a residence hall by impersonating an ICE agent, pretending to be an ICE agent. Police were called to Temple's Johnson and Hardwick Residence Hall on the university's North Philly campus. It's not immediately clear what the intention behind the visit to the residence hall was. Steigelman allegedly met 2 other suspects who attempted to gain access to the building but were denied. Police then also arrested a 24-year-old man in Missouri after he assaulted a man demanding paperwork while impersonating an ICE officer. Just fucking scary times. And I mean, be aware, but we stories. I'm not meant to I'm not trying to fear monger anybody, but yeah, be aware that there are some crazy fucking people out there right now. But it also is a sad reminder of what happens when this rhetoric plays out in the real world, and we've always talked about this on this show. And anybody with half a brain can recognize that words matter. The rhetoric that is spewed out there matters. Like when you put hate out there and you create these narratives like those around immigration, it then spills out into real world events like these, where you have these people who are just undying lovers of Donald Trump and MAGA and have fooled themselves into thinking they're patriots, go out and want to play police officer, literally, and bad things can happen. People get assaulted. This woman here was unfortunately raped. We saw it in Georgia a couple years ago where Ahmaud Arbery was murdered by those guys who chased him down, claiming he was breaking into houses. They wanted to be police officers, essentially. A lot of that hate that causes them to go to the streets is because of the rhetoric that's pushed out there. They're being told, these people are coming for everything you have. We need to fight. We need to protect ourselves. And unfortunately, some of these people take it literally. And that's the responsibility you have when you have a large platform, be it social media or be it the ultimate platform of being the fucking president of the United States. And when you don't take it seriously, unfortunately, there are real world implications and sad things and sad moments and tragedies play out in the street as a result of the words that you're putting out there. But that's that. With that said, let's get on a lighter note here, right? Let's talk about Valentine's Day. Let's talk about some love, all right? But first, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. All right, so I feel like I used to do this a lot more around the holidays and things like that. I would I would talk about fun little things that are and somehow we got way too serious. I think there's a lot going on in the world. It's hard to be fun and fluffy, but I think we need it right now. Also, not for nothing, I love, not to be redundant, but I'm a big fan of romantic movies, romantic dramas, comedies. I love it. I'm a huge fan. I am a big rom-com guy, okay? I have no shame in admitting it. So here are 5 films, Latino love on screen. This is according to We Are Me Too, that you can snuggle up with this Valentine's Day. So something nice here, a little Netflix and chill. The first one they mentioned is In the Heights, the 2021 version. This film stars Anthony Ramos and Melissa Barrera, and it is an adaptation of the stage play. The musical follows a group of friends in Washington Heights fighting against gentrification. A story leads to the 2003 blackout in New York City and their relationship's wild ride. Through the movie, Usnavi and Vanessa have a will they, won't they thing going on. The love story highlights a Latino's love. Sorry, the love story highlights a lot of love in this sentence. The love story highlights Latino love's joy. I don't know if that still didn't make sense to me, but I said it slow. Watching their love bloom on the TV while holding your loved one close is the best, one of the best ways to spend your Valentine's Day. I've actually never seen this movie. I'm a big fan of Anthony Ramos and Melissa Barrera. I also just hate musicals in general, but I even talked about this when it came out. I have to give this a shot. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna give it a shot. We'll give it a shot, guys. Chat, I'm gonna do it. This one I can speak to. Someone Great. This is a 2019 Netflix film following three friends who enjoy one last epic day together following Jenny's breakup. Jenny Young, a musical journalist played by Gina Rodriguez, is devastated by a breakup. Erin Kennedy, played by DeWanda Wise, and Blair Helms, played by Brittany Snow, give her one last incredible day. Her besties spend the day off work to make some last memories before Jenny moves to San Francisco. What follows is a wild adventure of twists and turns and a concert that only happens in New York City. This is a fun-filled movie to celebrate friendship during Valentine's Day. Yo, I fucking love this movie. I feel like there's another. I don't know if it was Gina Rodriguez. There's another one similar to this, but we'll focus on this Gina Rodriguez one. I love this movie. It's a chick flick. I love chick flicks. That's what I was looking for. This is a great movie. Great music. The soundtrack is fire. Jesse Reyes also plays a cameo in this, performing. This is also the movie that Lizzo's Truth Hurts became like a gigantic hit off of. I've seen this a couple times. I love this movie. A big fan. Highly recommend. Fools Rush In, 1997. This is a classic. I've seen this in bits and pieces. I actually probably should watch this in full. But Salma Hayek plays Isabel Fuentes in this masterful 90s romantic comedy. Isabel meets Alex Whitman, played by Matthew Perry, on a one-night stand, and it turns into a life-changing moment. Alex learns that Isabel is pregnant months after the one-night stand. Obviously, he decides to uproot his life, leaving behind his bachelor lifestyle and marry Isabel. A job promotion for Alex puts their future in limbo. He's left to decide between his life in Las Vegas and his success in New York City. This one is a sweet Valentine's Day gift. I've seen this one in parts. I love Salma Hayek for many reasons, but I love Salma Hayek. I've seen this in parts. It was great. I don't know why I never finished it. I'm really bad when it comes to movies, like finishing movies. Like I watch everything in parts. So this could have been one where I was like watching it in parts, and then like life happened, and I started watching another show, and I got distracted. That actually happened with Carlito's Way. Not a romantic movie per se. There's love in it, but I gotta finish that one as well with Al Pacino. I might have a movie weekend, but I'm DJing both Saturday and Sunday. Whatever. Life of as a single man, I just have so much, going. My schedule is too packed. I'm gonna be watching movies all weekend. That's what But no, I don't think I would actually love to have that problem where I'm a single man just in bed watching romantic movies by myself all weekend. That sounds delightful, actually. Unfortunately, I have way too much going on these days. You didn't need to know that, though, but here we are. Anyway, Made in Manhattan. This is one of my mom's favorite movies, actually. This Made in Manhattan and what the fuck was the other one? Wedding Planner. I would actually say Wedding Planner over Made in Manhattan, personally, but this one's good as well. Made in Manhattan, this is from 2002. J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez. This was like peak J-Lo, like just fucking crushing it. She plays Marissa Ventura, a single mom from New York City's boroughs. She works as a housekeeper in a luxury hotel in Manhattan. Marissa is always a model employee, but lets herself try on a guest outfit. She gets caught by Christopher Marshall, played by Ralph Fiennes, and has to pretend she's a guest. The courtship grows, and Marissa eventually has to face the music and tell Christopher who she is. This kind of love story will bring you back to the early 2000s. Get ready for so much nostalgia, perfect for Valentine's Day. This one's fire. Not gonna lie to you. It is hard to watch now because the dude who's the actor in it went on to play one of the serial killers in Hannibal, the movie, I believe. One of the Silence of the Lambs, I think it was Hannibal. He was one of the serial killers in that. Vicious. Played it beautifully. So it's kind of hard to see him in Made in Manhattan as like the love interest. But like once you can get past that, I think it's kind of fire. I fuck with this movie. I really do think Wedding Planner. I would have said Wedding Planner over this. And the last one is Hitch. Fucking classic Hitch, 2005. We're talking about peak Eva Mendes. Like, first of all, Eva Mendes has aged like a fine wine. She might actually look better, more beautiful in today, like than she did even back then. But when I say peak Eva Mendes, I meant like I was obsessed with Eva Mendes. Like Eva Mendes should have gotten a restraining order against me in 2005 probably. I was obsessed with her. Loved her. Never got creepy obviously, but I'm just saying like just to kind of like give you an analogy of like my level of love for Eva Mendes. It still runs deep. But you know, she's a married woman. She's got her whole kids, whole life ahead of her. Anyway, in Hitch, Will Smith plays Alex Hitchens, a smooth-talking pickup artist who teaches men how to pick up women. However, Alex becomes enamored with Sarah Melis, or Melis, I think they pronounce it. Sarah Melis in the movie. Played by Eva Mendes, Sarah is a tabloid journalist trying to dig up dirt on the love life of one of Alex's clients. Alex quickly becomes a clumsy, less smooth person around Sarah and realizes he's in love. How sweet. Hitch tries to get the woman he loves to fall in love with him. A surprise realization threatens everything Alex has worked for. You can find out what happens on Valentine's Day when you watch it. This is a great one. Great movie. It's also like, I feel like peak Will Smith, box office Will Smith at this point. I love this movie. We don't talk about it enough. I think it's funny. It's romantic. Takes place in New York City, which, you know, points right there. But I love this movie. Whatever. This is one of those movies. FX be doing this to you. FX has whoever's curating like the weekend movies they be throwing on FX or like nighttime movies. Like they're not getting paid enough. I don't know what they're getting paid, but they're not getting paid enough because they be just hitting, boy. Like you be flipping through the channels. And again, I'm not even like a big TV person, but God forbid I scroll through FX and they got one of these classics on. I'm done for it. I don't care where in the film we are. I'm gonna finish watching it. Hitch is one of those movies. You just jump like literally anywhere it is in the movie. I'm gonna watch it if it's on TV. So that's that. Hopefully that helped you make some Valentine's Day plans. You know, you could chill out a little bit. Doesn't have to be all fancy. I've always been like I would. It sounds like hell on earth to me to go to a restaurant or some big event on Valentine's Day. Like that sounds like absolute hell on earth to me. I would much rather like order some banging takeout, you know what I'm saying? Be in my living room, comfy clothes, with my significant other, just watching some romantic ass movies all weekend. Not for nothing, this doesn't have any Latinos in it. Oh, I mean, The Killer's a Latino technically. Ghost, classic fucking movie, underrated. I think it's 1990. Demi Moore, Patrick Swayze, Whoopi Goldberg. Love that movie. That's like top 3 for me of all time. Notting Hill, Julia Roberts. That has all white people in it, but great movie. And also, if you're looking for like an action love story, True Romance, Christian Slater. I mean, it's a little bit of a dark. It's dark, but it's love, but it's dark. You know, it stars. It has a lot of murder. The love interest is a prostitute, and the main person, Christian Slater, is kind of like a crazy person. Drugs are involved as well. I mean, it's like you know, it's not your traditional love story, but I fuck with it. True Romance, love that one, cult classic. Anyway, yeah. So Valentine's Day, you got a lot of options. You're welcome. With that said, let's tie everything we talked about today in a neat little bow in a segment we call Conclusion Stew.
Time for conclusion stew.
All right, just quickly running through this stuff here. Musk scares me, and we should all be scared. And it seems like there are less and less guardrails as the days go on to protect us from these greedy billionaires who really seem to want to stop at nothing just to keep getting more and more rich. It's scary. Google being another example of that. Again, a scary company that is a part of our everyday lives, and that we use in various ways. We use their technology. Being ultra loyalist to Trump, very scary. One thing I also didn't mention, I forgot to, something to watch, which is scary, is our freedom of press. Trump blocked out AP News, Associated Press, from being in the Oval Office to document a new executive order signing. And this comes on the heels of AP refusing to acknowledge the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America. So seems like of course they're gaslighting you into saying, well, you know, it's a privilege to have access, you know, even though AP has been there for the other executive order signings. Seems like retaliation, and that's what's scary as well, is if the media doesn't fall in line, they're going to be retaliated against. And again, we the people are going to be affected by that, because that is a intimidation tactic to make the media post stories or operate in a way that is in line with this president's agenda. And that literally goes against the backbone of this country and our freedom of press that is essential to our Constitution and our freedom as Americans. But, again, it's selective patriotism. It's theatrical patriotism that these people love to employ as a means to hide their true motives and their true feelings. And ICE impersonators, it's disgusting. Just absolutely disgusting. I don't have any other commentary. But again, this is what happens when you use a messaging of hate and you have a large platform. You're going to see it spill out into the streets, and that's why words do matter. And lastly, Valentine's Day. I hope you got your little boo thing. If not, listen, it's all right. It's all right being single. I would love to date. I would love to take myself on a long 3-day weekend date right now. Literally just sitting in my living room, ordering takeout for every meal, binge watching some of my favorite movies. That sounds delightful. Unfortunately, I have too busy of a weekend to do so. But, if you're taking or you're single, those movie suggestions that we just gave you are fire. Link in the show notes if you forgot something or you want to check out the trailers for them. Highly recommend. Anyway, have an amazing weekend. Enjoy your Valentine's Day, even if you're single or you are booed up. Enjoy it nonetheless. And I'll talk to you on Tuesday with a brand new episode. Till then, stay safe. We'll talk soon. Peace.